In November 2019, a disturbing emergency call was received by police in northern Canada. The caller was a 12-year-old girl named Ava Turner. The call lasted only 26 seconds. When officers arrived at the address, Ava was gone. So was her mother. To this day, neither of them has ever been found. But that's not the strangest part. The strangest part is what neighbors claimed they saw standing outside the house that night. Ava lived with her mother Rachel in the small town of Black Pine, Alberta. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. Nothing unusual ever happened there. At least, that's what people believed. Rachel worked remotely as a book editor and spent most of her time at home. After Ava's father died in a highway accident 3 years earlier, the two became extremely close. According to friends, Rachel rarely left Ava alone. Everything seemed normal until the first week of November. That's when Ava started hearing someone knocking on her bedroom window. Every night. Always at exactly 2:17 a.m. The first few times, Rachel assumed it was a prank. Their house sat near a wooded area. Maybe local teenagers were causing trouble. But when Rachel checked outside, nobody was ever there. No footprints. No signs of anyone approaching the house. Nothing. Then Ava started saying something strange. She claimed the knocking wasn't coming from outside. She said it sounded like it was coming from inside the glass, as if someone was trapped within the window itself. Rachel laughed it off at first, but a few nights later, she heard it too. 3 slow knocks. Tap, 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 coming directly from Ava's bedroom window. When Rachel rushed into the room, Ava was sitting upright in bed, terrified, pointing at the glass. And according to Rachel, the knocking continued for several seconds after she entered. That was the night everything changed. The following morning, Rachel inspected the window carefully. There were no cracks, no marks, nothing that could explain the sound. But Ava refused to sleep in her room anymore. She insisted that someone was watching her through the glass, not from outside, from somewhere beyond it. Rachel tried moving her into the guest room. For 2 nights, everything seemed normal. Then the knocking started again, this time on the guest room window, always at exactly 2:17 a.m. 3 slow knocks. Tap, 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 as if something had followed her. Rachel installed security cameras around the house. One pointed directly at the guest room window. She was determined to catch whoever was doing this. The next morning, she reviewed the footage. At 2:17 a.m., the camera suddenly filled with static for exactly 23 seconds. Then it returned to normal. No person, no animal, nothing visible. Yet the knocking had happened again. Rachel couldn't explain it. Neither could the police. As the days passed, Ava's behavior became increasingly strange. She started talking to someone when she thought nobody was listening. Rachel overheard her one afternoon. Ava was sitting alone in the living room, whispering toward an empty corner. When Rachel asked who she was talking to, Ava looked confused. "The lady in the glass," she replied. Rachel felt a chill run through her body. "What lady?" Ava pointed toward the dark television screen. "The one who looks like you." For several seconds, Rachel couldn't speak. That night, she covered every mirror in the house, every reflective surface, every piece of glass she could find. She didn't know why. Something deep inside her simply felt afraid. Then came the photograph. A family friend stopped by one afternoon and took a picture of Rachel and Ava together. Later that evening, Rachel received the image. At first glance, it looked normal. Then she noticed something. A third face, reflected faintly in the living room window behind them. A pale woman, standing directly between Rachel and Ava. The problem was simple. There had only been 2 people in the room. Rachel immediately contacted police. Officers searched the property. Again, they found nothing. But that same night, a neighbor reported seeing a woman standing motionless beside Rachel's house, watching the windows. She remained there for nearly an hour, then vanished into the darkness. The neighbor assumed it was Rachel, until she learned Rachel had never left the house. By now, Ava was terrified. She refused to go near any mirror. She refused to look outside after sunset. And every night, The knocking grew louder, closer, more aggressive. Then, on November 14th, Ava said something that would later appear in police reports. Something investigators could never explain. She looked at her mother and whispered, "Mom, she says when the window opens, you have to come with her." Rachel asked who she meant. Ava's answer was immediate, "The other you." And 3 nights later, the emergency call was made. On the night of November 17th, Rachel sent a final text message to a friend. It contained only 4 words: "She's inside the house." Less than 20 minutes later, emergency dispatch received a 911 call from Ava. Her voice was shaking. "Please help us," she whispered. "She's here." The operator asked who she meant. Ava replied, "My mom is standing in the hallway." There was a pause. Then Ava began crying. "But my mom is sitting beside me." The operator heard another woman's voice in the background, a voice that sounded exactly like Rachel. Then Ava screamed, "That's not my mom!" 3 loud knocks echoed through the call. Tap, tap, tap. The line went dead. Police arrived minutes later. The front door was unlocked. Every light in the house was on, but Rachel and Ava were gone. No signs of a struggle, no footprints, no evidence, nothing. Only one strange message was found written on a bathroom mirror. She opened the window for us. The case remains unsolved. But the story didn't end there. 5 years later, a new family moved into the house. Within days, their young son reported hearing knocking on his bedroom window every night at exactly 2:17 a.m. The family installed security cameras. Most of the footage showed nothing, except for one frame: a pale woman and a young girl standing outside the window. Investigators compared the image to old photographs. The resemblance was chilling. The figures looked exactly like Rachel and Ava. The family moved out 3 days later. Today, the house remains empty, and locals still claim that if you stand outside at 2:17 a.m., you'll hear 3 slow knocks coming from the glass. Tap, 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 as if something is still trying to get through.